What do you feel about the House Speaker?
Before the last couple of weeks, I was, in his corner, but now I'm, we should consider what's the best path forward. But we do need to consider whether, if we're going to advance Mr. Trump's agenda, whether the current leadership is what we need.
House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris on Fox Business Live yesterday suggesting that Republicans need to replace House Speaker Mike Johnson. Congress will hold its speakership vote 1 week from today. Johnson can only afford to lose one Republican vote to keep his job as he faces more GOP resistance within the chamber. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie already vowing not to support Johnson. Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz says she hasn't decided whether or not she's going to vote for him. Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry telling me earlier on this program today where he stands on Speaker Johnson's leadership. Watch this. Do you support Speaker Johnson or not?
I think that Mike has done an admirable job under tough conditions, but I'm going to keep my options open. I want to have a conversation with Mike. I don't know where this is going right now, but with Thomas Massie already saying he's a hard no, people like Victoria Sparks saying that they're likely a no, that's concerning. And we just got to make sure that we get the best person for the job under the circumstances.
Joining me now is South Carolina Congressman Russell Fry. He's a member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees and a member of the Subcommittee on Weaponization of Federal Government. Congressman, good morning. And you heard some of your colleagues, and there seems to be more and more of a chorus. And I'm going to add Nicole Malliotakis to that. She just joined me last hour, saying that they have concerns about Mike Johnson's leadership, and they have questions, and they want to have a conversation.
Well, I think conversations are certainly healthy. And I think the thing that we have to remember as Republicans in the House is that we've had this fight before. And unfortunately for us, it led to weeks of acrimony, weeks and months of lost opportunity. And so the important thing, the important ally that I hope that we utilize when we come back in January and then when President Trump is sworn in is speed. We need to enact as quickly as possible the Make America Great Again agenda with President Trump at the top of the ticket leading the country. We have speed. We have to speedily go through these big issues so that we fix the country, that we correct a lot of the problems that Joe Biden has created. And we only do that if we're able to come together, coalesce, and have an impact on a conservative agenda.
So it sounds like you support Speaker Johnson staying in the role.
Well, I do. I mean, Speaker Johnson was unanimously selected just a month ago in our Republican conference meeting. He is the only one that is running for Speaker on our side of the aisle. And so while people have frustrations, and I certainly understand that myself, I think it's important to remember the bigger picture. And we have an obligation to enact the wishes of the voters from a legislative standpoint, much like the Senate. And I can't wait to get started.
Congressman, I've got Joe Pinion on set. He's got a question for you.
Congressman, always good to see you. I mean, look, the reality is you hit the nail on the head. We have a national mandate to fulfill. All 7 swing states, the popular vote, they voted for President Trump. They voted for those tax cuts. They voted to make sure that we could secure our border. None of that can happen until we have a speaker. And so I just really want to focus on how we get Republicans to start rowing together and lock in to recognize every presidency. It really comes down to the first 100 days, particularly a president serving in what will be President Trump's second term.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think the sooner that we can organize, the sooner that we can select officers within the House, the better that we will be. It's been kind of a rocky couple years in the 118th Congress, but I would contend that the 119th with President Trump at the top is going to be much better because we have unified government for I think the 4th time since the 1930s. And so it's really important that we take this moment seriously, that we organize as quickly as possible, and that we go about the business of governing the country, securing the border, lowering taxes on hardworking American families, restoring our order on the world stage. These are really important to the president, and we only get there when we can coalesce, unify, even if you don't like the guy, but unify in a way that benefits not just ourselves, but the country most importantly. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us as conservatives.
And some of your colleagues have come on the program already yesterday and today. You know, they make the point. You've got, for sure, 2 years 2 years where you've got, you've got the majority in both the House and the Senate, and then, of course, the Republican president. So we shall see. Congressman, you've been calling out President Biden for commuting the sentence of a man convicted of killing 2 South Carolina women in a 2017 bank robbery. Here's what you wrote on X. Joe Biden's clemency for death row inmates disgraces victims' memories nationwide, like Donna Major of Conway and Katie Skeen of Green Sea. This shows shocking disregard for innocent families' pain right at Christmas. January 20th cannot come soon enough. So, President Trump, elect Trump, is vowing to vigorously pursue the death penalty, writing on Truth Social that the inmates Biden granted clemency should all go to hell, Congressman. So what do you want to see?
Well, I think President Trump is exactly right. I mean, this is just shocking in the way that President Biden went about this. You have Brandon Council, who murdered 2 women at a bank in cold blood. He was charged. He was convicted by a jury of his peers through weeks of deliberation, through weeks of listening and weighing the evidence. This was lawfully done in a perfect scenario. No one says that he is innocent at all. And here we have President Biden sashaying his way out of the White House, granting clemency to these criminals who have done such harm to the country. I mean, that is what's so remarkable, that we lived this scenario in just a few years ago when he was convicted. We grieved with the families, and here he is without any regard to the families, without any regard to the victims of these crimes, granting clemency on his way out the door. I think it's just shameful and shocking.
Real quick before you go, Jonathan Turley called out President Biden on a separate issue. All these moves, of course, being made in his last, 25 days, I think we're at now. Jonathan Turley writes that Biden's veto of the Judges Act makes him a craven partisan, not a framer, as he has claimed.
I think he's exactly right. I mean, President Biden was actually calling for this bill to be passed just a year ago, I think. And so here we are because of the timing of when it passed. It passed a Democrat Senate, it passed a Republican House, and he vetoes it because he doesn't want to give any help to the next administration, despite the fact that we need these judges. We need these federal judges with the case logs that are going on. He vetoes it for purely political reasons. But I think that's who he is at his core, despite what he says.
And
he's just a partisan hack.
And we now have 3 judges, Democratic judges that were set to retire, that are no longer retiring because they don't want to open up their spots. That is political. Congressman Russell Fry, Congressman, thank you for being here. We look forward to all the work that you're going to be doing in the 119th Congress.
Thanks, Cheryl.
All right.